and CarPlay flashed same room, while her mom sat beside me. The message lit up the dashboard like an accusation with good typography. CarPlay doesn't care about witness protection. It shows you everything with theater lighting. I was driving my mother-in-law home from dinner, Myra's own mother humming through a list of flowers she wants to plant, when the war calms down, when my wife's iMessage appeared in a tasteful banner above the speedometer. Same room, 20 min. Sender name, architect. My mother-in-law squinted. "Is that you?" she asked, as if I'd finally learned how to text myself compliments. "It's work," I lied, and turned the screen off with a jab that made me look guiltier than I was. Myra had stayed to help Dasha close the restaurant. She had kissed the air near my cheek, said, "Don't wait up," and slipped into that gliding mood she reserves for nights she intends to tell stories about later. I drove her mother to Left Bank, listened to her assess the price of eggs with operatic intensity, and tried to breathe normally while the words "same room" sang back up in the back of my skull. I dropped her off with a bag of leftovers and the lie of "get some rest." Then I pulled to the curb, turned CarPlay back on, and watched the other banner I don't like, my own reflection, float in the black windshield. I tapped the notification. The thread expanded like a wound that thinks it's a flower. Architect, same room, 20 min. Myra, key is under the potted fig. Use back stairs. There were older messages, too polite to be innocent. Tuesdays, like a superstition. Photos of light on parquet floors. A selfie of a white door with a brass number, 305. A close shot of the corner of a velvet sofa I recognized from a boutique hotel near the river. The Atlas, half spa, half theater set, where people go to practice being someone else in rooms named after myths. I drive for a living only in the sense that logistics is driving with spreadsheets. I believe in routes, in things arriving where they promise to arrive. The Atlas used to be a bathhouse. Now it is a place that sells you privacy with eucalyptus and thousand thread count righteousness. We'd gone there once, on a gift certificate from a grateful client, and come out smelling like we had learned how to forgive our pores. The staff were all professionally gentle and had memorized our names before we remembered to give them. I put the car in gear and let the river pull me into town. By the time I parked, the message had been joined by another, "Room set." The little gray ellipsis had never felt so smug. The Atlas lobby was warm with steam and practiced discretion. Someone had decided all the furniture should look like a hug. A woman in linen stood at the desk, her voice on low sympathy, explaining to a man that, unfortunately, the eucalyptus hammam is at capacity. When she saw me, she smiled with the relief of a person recognizing a problem she knows how to invoice. "Welcome back, Mr. Kovalenko," she said, and I didn't correct her. Men named after other men probably cause fewer scenes. "I need room 305, I said, and she blinked the way people blink when a person asks for the conclusion first. "Is someone expecting you?" she asked, which is hospitality for do I call security. "Yes," I said, because the truth often sounds most like a lie when you whisper it. She typed, eyes ferrying between my face and a monitor. "Ms. Myra's guest has already arrived," she said smoothly. "Guest. Sainthood is easier than this job." I thanked her with a nod she didn't deserve and took the back stairs, which smelled like lemon and new tile. At the landing, a plant stood in a minimalist pot, a fig whose leaves looked like maps. I felt under the lip and found a key, cold, smug, theatrical. I thought about throwing it into the river of steam and knocking instead, about being noble in a way that would embarrass us all. Then I put the key in the lock and turned. Room 305 looked like the kind of dream expensive people have about being simple. Low light, a velvet sofa the color of after midnight fruit, a narrow bed in the corner like an argument you intend to have later. The air smelled like oranges and someone else's decision. On the low table, 2 glasses sweated. A suit jacket hung on the back of a chair, navy, too proud of its tailoring to lie flat. Beneath it, a leather folio with a logo I recognize from project bids, KOROLARCHITCTS. Architect had a government name after all. I heard the shower stop. Water did that little cosmetic run off tiles. A moment later he stepped out, towel around his hips, hair damp, carrying the softness of a man whose job requires confidence in pictures. He saw me, halted, and set the familiarity on his face down very carefully like a breakable gift. "You're early," he said. Then, "You're not her." "No," I said, "I'm the husband." His face did a quick check of all exits, visible and social. Then he nodded. "Roman," he said, like it mattered that we be introduced before we humiliated ourselves. "Alex," I said, though he likely knew it from the folio in my kitchen, or something worse. We looked at each other like men at the border between countries that will not admit they share a language. He didn't reach for his phone. I respected that. He reached for the jacket instead and shrugged into it, towel still scandalously loyal below the waist, and buttoned one button like an apology. "I should go," he said. "You should stay," I answered, surprising us both. "If you leave, this becomes a story about a coward. I already have too many of those." He tilted his head. "Do you want to fight me?" he asked, genuinely curious. "I want to understand why there's a key under a fig tree," I said. He considered. "Because she's tired of knocking," he said finally. "Because you come home with bedtime in your voice." "I come home," I said, and my voice sounded like a chair being pulled out too hard. He nodded, accepting the point even as he kept his own. "I design buildings," he said. "She designs rooms. You design routes. She says you're very good at making sure everything arrives intact." "Yes," I said, "we are both intact, that's our problem." The door opened. Myra stepped in, hair pinned and damp, cheeks bright with night. She saw Roman first, her mouth changed shape. Then she saw me, and everything she had arranged on her face, resolve, mischief, apology, went looking for a coat it had left in another room. "Alex," she said, then because she is polite even when she is doomed, "Roman." "I found the fig," I said. "You always do," she said softly, which was supposed to be a compliment and felt like history. She closed the door with a small click that moved the air like a cello does, not loud but final. She set her bag down and looked me straight on. I married her for that, her refusal to borrow somebody else's angle. "I didn't want you to find out like this," she said. "I didn't want there to be a this," I answered. She looked at Roman, then at me, and some part of me admired the way she refused to arrange us on a timeline. "I booked the room," she said. "I sent the text. I have wanted something I can't name without lying, and I'm tired of pretending my hunger is a personality flaw." Roman took a step toward the door. "I can go," he said, softer than his suit. "Stay," I said again, because if I was going to be brave it might as well be in the most humiliating way. Myra sat on the edge of the bed like a person about to write a better law. "I don't want to leave you," she told me, "but I'm bored of being the most reasonable couple in every room. I'm bored of swapping tenderness like receipts. I want heat that doesn't need an alibi." "Is he heat?" I asked. She glanced at Roman, then back. "He is permission," she said, "and I hate that I needed a person to play the role of a door. There is a version of me that could have made a noble speech here about fidelity and vows and the civilizing influence of taxes. Instead, I said, I don't want to lose you to rooms I'm not in." It sounded ridiculous and true. Roman exhaled in a way that showed me his ribs like someone who once sang for a living. "What do you want, Alex?" he asked, not unkindly. 30 days, I said, because apparently 30 is the only number my courage can count to. 30 days where we stop performing competence. We say what we want when we want it instead of testing each other with secret Wi-Fi names and fig tree keys. After that, if you, I looked at Mira, still need a room named after a myth, I will book it, but I will not pretend I don't know the address. Roman nodded like he'd expected a duel and got a treaty. "And me?" he asked. "You stop being content," I said. "No trophies, no clever airdrops, no cinematic exits followed by text messages meant to be reread in mirrors. If this continues, it does so because two people decided to ruin and rebuild their life honestly, not because a third person curated a mood." His mouth tightened in a way I recognized, the look of a man deleting a habit. "I can do that," he said. "I didn't come here to build a museum of your pain." Myra's eyes watered the way truth irrigates what it intends to grow. "And what do you put on the table?" she asked me, quiet but insisting. I looked at the bed, the argument meant to be had later, and understood at last what it had been holding space for. "I stopped saving desire for holidays," I said. "I stopped managing you like a precious shipment. I arrive with heat, not a calendar. I tell you I want you while the wanting is a flame, not a case study." Silence is an instrument if you hold it correctly. The room played it. Then Myra stood and came to me and put her hand on my jaw the way she does when she's braver than me. "Do you want me now?" she asked, not as a dare, not as a joke, as an inventory. "Yes," I said. The word burned through the eucalyptus like a different plant entirely. She kissed me, and it was not the kind of kiss you would blur for television. It was specific, immediate, a correction written in skin. Roman looked away, good man, bad idea, and then he did something I did not anticipate from a man whose name sounded like a thesis. He went to the door and opened it. "I'll be downstairs," he said. "If you come out together, I'll understand. If you don't, I'll understand." He left. The click sounded like a judge who loves you. We sat, we breathed. We did not hurry. The erotic lives near the honest. I can't write it for you because then it stops belonging to us. But I can say this. We didn't undress like sinners. We undressed like citizens. We kissed without making a case. We let our bodies testify to a thing we had edited out of drafts. We like each other, and not just because the paperwork says so. When the quiet came back, we didn't throw it out. Myra rested her forehead on mine. Her voice was careful and alive. "I'll tell him no," she said. "Not because you asked. Because I realized I don't need a door if the house is on fire for the right reasons." We walked downstairs together. The concierge glanced up with that expertly blank curiosity of people whose jobs are to witness without absorbing. Roman stood by the atrium pool, hands in pockets, looking at the mosaic like it might agree to age more slowly. Myra went to him, kissed his cheek with the kind of gratitude you give to ferrymen, and said something soft that ended with the syllable of goodbye. He nodded once, a man who had tuned a piano, and stepped away while it was finally in tune. Outside, the river wore a belt of cold light. We walked without holding hands at first. At the footbridge, she slipped her fingers into mine like signing a contract with warmth. We got oysters from a kiosk that didn't deserve them. We laughed. We talked about nothing because everything had been said upstairs. At home, I turned CarPlay off. We sat on the sofa and read each other the ugliest, loveliest parts of our message threads, two auditors discovering fraud and deciding to keep the company anyway. The next morning, we changed the CarPlay settings to "When Unlocked." We changed the Atlas door code to "Ask Me First." We changed where our phones lived at night, from between us like surveillance to the kitchen, by the figs we keep nearly alive. For 30 days, we practiced relation instead of performance. We failed surely, we succeeded quietly. On a Tuesday, a terrible, perfect cliché, she came home early with cinnamon on her coat and said, "I want you now." And I said yes before the ancient animal of my resentment could raise its head. On a Thursday, she said, "Not tonight," and I kissed her forehead felt like mercy instead of rejection. Roman didn't become a ghost. He became a footnote, a man who pointed at a door we decided to keep open only to each other. Once, weeks later, a package arrived. A small brass tag engraved 305. No note, just the number. I drilled a hole over our bedroom light switch and hung it there. Not a shrine. A reminder that rooms are only as dangerous as the secrets we feed them. Sometimes my mother-in-law rides with me again and she hums about petunias and the dashboard stays blessedly dumb. When it lights up, it's with things like Lena, buy peaches, or me, home in 10. We learned a new grammar for wanting. Add now when you mean it, add silence when you don't, and never outsource bravery to architecture. And when we drive past the Atlas at night, the eucalyptus hum threading the air like a memory, Myra squeezes my thigh through my jeans and says, "Same room." And I say ours. And the light at the switch under the tag makes the house look the way it always should have, like a place that knows our names and opens from the inside.